everybody, Debbie here from Craftywafty, and welcome to the series of making an 8x8 album. And today I'm going to show you how to make an acetate pocket. So for this pocket we're going to need obviously your base page, okay, and then for your frame, which is what we're going to use to put the acetate in, you need 8 inches and 1/8 by 7 3/4 inches, and we're going to score on the 8 inch and 1/8 side, and we're coming down with a 1/2 inch and a 3/4 inch on one side, and then on the other side we're coming down 7 3/4 inch by 8 inches. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut out so that we have a 5/8 inch frame in the center of our pocket, and we are also going to score on the bottom as well. So we're scoring on the 7 3/4 inch side, the 1/2 inch and the 3/4 inch. Now this will give the pocket a bit of a gusset, okay, or we're going to do like a boxed corner on this one. Okay, there's my little bit of acetate. So my acetate is size 6 3/4 inches by 6 3/4 inches. But first of all we need to prepare our frame. Okay, so at the top I've got this straight edge here. Now as I'm coming in, if you imagine you're going to be folding on those lines coming in, but I need to make sure I've got 5/8 inch coming in to create my frame round all 4 sides. So let's do the easy bit first. I'm going to turn it over so I've got the bubble on the other side. I'm going to get my lovely ruler. Let's just pop that page out the way for the minute. Okay, so I want 5/8 inch. So there's my 1/2 inch, and I'm just going to come down 5/8 inch. I'll just line that right the way across. Make sure I've got it nice and straight, and I'm just going to draw a pencil line between the score lines. Okay, now because I want 5/8 inch to go all the way around, I've got to obviously take into account the 3/4 inch here. So there's my 3/4 inch, but I want 5/8. So it's 1 2 3 4 5. So actually we're looking at 1 inch and 3/8 if my math is correct. So let's just double check. So if I come back and count 1 2 3 4 5, and there's the 3/4 inch that we've allowed for those score lines on the side of the gusset box. Okay, so I'm just going to draw my pencil line on there like so. Again, I'm drawing between, so you can see we're gradually creating a frame. So we're coming in at 1 inch and 3/8. So I'm just drawing that one on to the score line, and then I'm going to come in again 1 inch and 3/8 like so. Right, okay, so as you can see, this is our top. So I'm just going to write on their top. Okay, and then we've got our 5/8 inch frame going all the way round. There's the score line. So we're coming in, so that's going to be even. So what we need to do is cut that out. Now I've got my pencil lines in, I can see that clear. So just using this as a guide and my pencil lines as a guide. Going to pop that in. There we go. So I'm going to come from the top. I'm going to go right down to where that line is. I'm going to come in on the other side by 1 3/8. There we go. Just make sure that's. Now I always draw the pencil lines on. I know I could cut straight into it without doing the pencil lines, but the pencil lines just give me a guide as to where to stop, where I'm bringing the knife, so we get nice clean corners. I'll just line that one up. I'm just going to come down. I've not quite cut that in on that corner, so I can just follow that line. There we go. And that one's out. Right, and then I've just got this top edge, which is going to be 5/8 of an inch because this is the top. So we're just going to line that up. And we should be, let's have a little look, see if that's going to pop out. Okay, and there we are. So we've now cut out our frame. What we're going to do next is I'm just going to put the red liner tape round. So I've got my lovely red liner tape. And I'm just going to put it in that 1/2 inch gap. Just cut that off, and we're going to go all the way around. Like so. And then we're going to come all the way round. Like so. So we've done that on the outside of our frame, because we're going to trim these corners, but we're going to do our corners slightly different because I want a nice little boxed effect. So where you've cut across, we're going to cut out this first square. So let me just snip that out. Okay, and then these two other little triangles, we're just going to cut, triangles, hark at me, rectangles. We're just going to cut down okay, because that will sort of give us like a little flap bit. Just going to fold that over, and we'll just check to make sure that that's going to work on both our lines, just to give us the crease bit. So let's just fold that in on there for the minute. Okay, so that will fold down, so you get one flap tuck in underneath, and then the other one will come over and give us a little box. So yeah, so we're going to cut down to that bit, and then we're going to cut that diagonal across. I just had to double check. Cut that diagonal across, and then we're going to cut off. So when I fold that, that other bit will go in, and that should fold in. Actually, I do need to take that right off, my mistake. I'm going to cut out the whole of that corner. Okay, so when that comes over, there we go. And we've got our little box edge. I had to think about it for a minute. It's been a while since I've done these. Okay, and then obviously those two flaps will fold over. And on these end flaps here, where you've got that first 1/2 inch, we're just going to miter that corner just a little bit. Like so. So that when I bring those corners in, they overlap. That brings that in nice. And then you've got a nice corner edge. Okay, so on the other side then, so we're going to cut out the whole of that square like so, and we're going to cut out, so you've got the two score lines, so you've cut out that whole little corner bit, and then we can fold these. I'll fold our things. We'll go over these with a bone folder. Oops, come on then. And our score line, let's try and do that. There we go, like so, and then that will give us our corner, and we're just going to miter these corners just so that that helps that sit a little bit flatter. Okay, a little bit tricky, but it's fine. Okay, let's just clear those little bits. So I'm just going to get my bone folder. I'm going to score these lines in properly. We've increased those. There we go. I'm going to do it on that one. So, and here we are with this one. There we go. And so there we are. Okay, and then you can see how we're getting the acetate frame pocket coming together. Right, okay, so that's how it will end up being stuck on our page with this little gusset bit that you've got here. And we've got the nice corners that are coming in lovely as well. Okay. Now, the next thing we need to do before we can stick it onto our page is obviously attach our acetate. So on the inside, here's my acetate. And I can see that that's going to go over just nicely. It sits in within the score lines. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run some red liner tape around the inside of the frame, just as soon as I can find the end. Now, it's better to use a tape rather than glue, because when you push down on the acetate, the glue can sort of squidge out and mark your acetate. So it's always a good idea to use a double-sided tape for this job. Okay, I'll just bring that over. Right, and I'm only going to the corners, the thickness of the tape, because I don't want excess tape on there. So I'll just come down and I'll just give that a little snip, and then our bottom bit. I'm just making sure that that goes along the edge of our, oops, it's got stuck to the other bit there. Okay, come off. Right, so I'm just going to use my tool bone folder just to give that a good rub. Okay, I've come over a little bit. I can tuck that bit in. Right, so the next bit is to peel off. So you're probably best to do a side at a time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the bottom bit. I'm going to fold back so much of that tape. Just put a little crease in it, like so, just so I can line up my acetate. So let's curl those out of the way. That's it, come out of the way. Right, and I'm going to just stick that down to make sure I've got it covered. That's going to hold in place. Now I can peel off the rest of the tape as that comes up. And we're going to do the same on the other side. So now I can smooth that out as we go along. So we want a really good seal on this. And I can just peel off that last bit of tape. And now I can pull those bits out. And I can just go over this with the bone folder just to make sure that that acetate is stuck nicely on our frame. Okay, so that is the acetate. Now before I stick this down, I always give this a little clean, because you know, if it picks up any static and stuff like that, if there was any finger marks on it, because once you've put it in the album, then there's not much you can do with it after that. So give it a little clean on the inside. I'll just use a little baby wipe and come over with a tissue just to get rid of all my finger marks and what have you. Okay, the outside you can do later, so you can know how much static it picks up. All right, so here we are. We've got our base page. Now, with any pocket again, we're going to do exactly what we'd normally do. We're going to stick the bottom bit on first. So I'm just going to peel that off. I will add a little bit of glue. Okay, because this is going to be slightly different because we've got a gusset. Okay, so I just want to make sure that we get this first bit in. And I'm just going to line that up. I'm coming in just a fraction from the bottom and side, and because it's a gusset you can't push it down like we would normally, but we can go in on the inside and we can just run that along there. And again, I'm just going to put a bit of construction tape in on the inside. Okay, like so. And now I'm going to peel off both sides, and I'm going to run glue on both sides, because as we put this down we want to keep that boxed effect. So I'm just going to run a bit of glue either side, like so. Okay, and this is where you need to have a little bit of patience with this. So I'm going to bring this over. Let's move that bit card out of the way. And I'm going to make sure, the easiest way of doing this is making sure that your corners are nice and square. Drop one side down first. Try and get that level and straight. And then come in and just tuck in the other pocket. And again, we want to make sure those sides are straight and not going a little wonky. Let's bring that one out just a little bit. Tuck that in. There we go. Right, and I'm just bringing that edge in just a fraction. And I'm going to get myself a ruler. I'm just going to run that in there, and I'm just going to help with those pocket sides to fix down both sides. And there we are. And that is our acetate window gusset pocket. So we've got our nice corners on there. Now I can just clean the front of that, get rid of all those little marks on there, get them a little bit of, and we're good to go. There we are. Job done. Thanks for watching. Bye.